Okay, Grandma, introduce yourself.
Okay, this is Mary, Mrs. Linus Holtkamp, mother of Marilyn, Diane, Harold, Mike, and Kathy.
Perfect. And today we're going to be talking about Kathy.
Yes, she was the youngest of the five.
Youngest of the five. Do you remember when Kathy was born? Do you remember anything about her eyes?
Blue eyes,
Blue eyes?
like Linus. Linus had the blue eyes.
Like her dad. So who does she look more like?
She was just a good-looking baby. Probably, I don't know, probably more like Linus, but our children most all looked somewhat alike.
Yes.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone to say this doesn't look like the rest of them. They all look a great deal alike.
And how big of an age difference was there between Kathy and her oldest sibling?
Quite a bit, 5 years.
So did she hang out more with Harold, who was only 5 years difference?
Oh, yeah, she hung on Harold. Harold was her big brother. However, where Harold went, she had to go too. And they did get along real well. He always looked out for her.
Did she, being the youngest, was there anything different about her than the rest of the kids? Like, did you have to teach her a lot, or did she learn from the older?
She learned everything from the other children. I teach her less. She picked it up from the girls. And Diane and Marilyn treated her like her own. She learned a lot more than the other ones did because she picked it up from watching them. And then, was Mike still living? No. Okay. And Harold took her with him everywhere he went.
Yeah?
Yeah. And she liked that.
And to put Kathy to sleep, did you do anything special?
No, she went to sleep pretty well.
Did you put on music?
Oh, that's right. I would play the piano so she would go to sleep. I forgot. She did. I would go play the piano. I wasn't that good a pianist. I took piano lessons for about 3 months. But I loved to play what I could.
Yeah?
And I would play the piano because she liked music.
And what about her? Does she have a special dog at the house?
She had a special
Dog. Lassie?
Oh, dog. Yes. She and Lassie, if you ever couldn't find Kathy, just call the dog. And the dog wouldn't come unless Kathy came with her.
Oh.
The dog wouldn't come just by himself. He'd walk a little while and he'd bark, bark, bark at Kathy till she'd come up and walk with him.
Would he protect her?
Oh, yes, yes. He was just like a guardian angel.
Yeah?
Nothing would get close to her. If any of the livestock, even along the fence, he'd bark all along the fence so they would stay away from her.
Ah.
Yeah, that was quite different.
Now, what about Kathy being, we were talking a little earlier about Kathy when she would be very helpful because she was the youngest. Would you guys ask her to go get things around the house and she would bring it back easily?
Oh, not any. All different things. I can't remember that she did any more than the rest of you. Do you?
No.
Did you, Diane?
That's okay. That's okay. And then, what about when Kathy was in high school? Do you remember anything about when Kathy was in high school?
Oh, yes, that was a real problem. That was an unusual grade. Everyone wanted to show off. So she had to be very careful that what she wore today wasn't something that someone else might have worn yesterday.
Oh.
They were just that year, but they got along real well.
Yeah.
There were 5 of them. They went to dances together, did everything together. But they always had to be dressed about the same. That was very important. You remember that, Diane?
Did you sew a lot of
Yes.
Kathy's
Imagine
clothes?
I sewed half of her clothes.
Yeah.
And she liked that better than what she could buy in town.
I bet.
Probably because Kathy was a little short-waisted. And that's difficult to find clothes where the waist fit exactly right. So I learned to sew a lot and she wore a lot of skirts and blouses because, see, then there wasn't that short or long waistline.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And she liked what I made, so that was fine.
Do you remember, did she have to wear a uniform to school?
Yes, they wore uniforms when they went to school. The children didn't appreciate it until afterwards. Then they realized if they hadn't had uniforms, so-and-so would have had a new dress every week, and so-and-so couldn't have had it. And the nuns saw that. So when they went to school, they didn't have to worry about Jean was going to come to dress at school with a new dress today. They had their mind on their books and all, and they had a nice good-looking uniform with white collars and cuffs.
So, where did Kathy go to school?
She went to school at West Point, and it was called Marquette.
Where did she go before Marquette?
Houghton. We had a school at Houghton, St. Paul, and West Point. And then all three parishes combined to Marquette.
Okay.
First, just in the high school.
Uh-huh.
And then afterwards, all the classes combined.
Yeah.
But
And
at first, it was just the high school.
And St. John's isn't there anymore now.
Pardon?
St. John's isn't there anymore
No.
now. But all your children went to St. John's
yes,
school.
all of our children graduated. And they were all very good students. So was Kathy. Almost all of them had graduated with an A average.
Did Linus go to that St. John's school also?
Linus went to that school. I was not from Houghton. I was from West Point, and I graduated from West Point. And of course, the school isn't there anymore because they consolidated, and since Houghton was the farthest out, they tore it down.
Okay.
Really nice school.
Now, when Kathy went to Marquette High School, were there any troubles? Remember, we were talking about a teacher that didn't want to give Kathy a good grade in math.
Oh, yes.
And you went to a parent-teacher conference. Can you tell us about that?
And I went to talk with the teacher, and she said, well, I thought maybe she might copy. And I said, that's worse than the lower grade you're giving her. My daughter does not copy. And that was the end of the low grades. After that,
Yeah.
she started getting decent grades.
Well, how does she know that she didn't copy in math?
She probably took my word for it after.
Well, yeah, but she had two older sisters that...
I told her about math teachers, yes.
Yeah, you have math
They
teachers
asked why
around the
she was so
family.
good in math, and I said, we have two older sisters that are high school math teachers, and I said our son was really good in math. Oh, because she was getting 99s, and the rest of them weren't getting that good a mark. Yes.
And so did Kathy like children? Was she a good babysitter?
Oh, yes, anybody that she babysat for loved her, and I was surprised because she was a tail ender, that she didn't have as much experience. But she must have been good because if she ever babysat once, they called her back the second time.
And so Kathy, when she married Steve,
Yeah.
and she met Steve while she was at Creighton.
That's right.
Do you want to talk at all about Kathy going to Creighton, or?
Well, it was kind of unusual. Until then, our other daughters went to school, but Creighton is the college they always wanted to go to. It was quite a bit more expensive. And then 3 girls in Kathy's class were going to Creighton. So what could we do but send Kathy also? So they went to Creighton at Omaha. One was, can't remember their names.
Weren't they the Pites?
One was the Pites.
And then when Kathy married Steve, why did she marry Steve?
Kathy met Steve at Creighton.
Yes.
And I think they met at a dance. Is that right?
No, I think Mom met Dad. I don't know how they met, but I know Dad was going to UNO. Maybe it was at a sorority function.
That could be. That could
have
very
been.
well be. Because it was something, a school function.
A party.
That's all I know.
Now, Kathy married Steve before she graduated college. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Yes. Yes, she did. First on, we were a little against that. But after a while, we realized it was probably the sensible way to go. I forget what time of the year there was. Wasn't she married, excuse me, around Christmas time?
Right before Christmas.
I thought it was cold and it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
And wasn't it because something was going to happen, and if they didn't get married, then they couldn't afterwards? Was he going to be inducted into service?
Yes, he went into the Air Force and they moved to Enid, Oklahoma.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And they both were very happy.
Yeah.
Enjoyed their years together. We would get letters from them and always knew they were doing well. Of course, we worried about them because it's the first one that was far away from home.
Yes.
But they did real well.
Now, what about growing up raising children on the farm? Do you want to talk
That's the
about
best
anything?
place to raise children.
Yes.
They always had something to do. They had plenty to do on a farm, and they learned to work. I don't mean hard work, but they learned to do things. They learned to feed the chickens. They could learn to gather the eggs. They learned to mow the lawn. They just learned a lot of things that maybe town kids didn't have the opportunity to learn. The responsibility of doing this and doing that. and they had a lot of